So our team, who have been organizing and working really hard on the entire ASET 10 event, they assigned me this topic and this panel to moderate this morning, but I was completely delighted to see what they had assigned me to do. And that's because of the great importance of the subject matter that we have today. So the name of this plenary session is Women in STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, and Leadership, Breaking Barriers, Driving Change. And this is of relevance not just to women, but to men as well, because of many reasons, some of which we will discuss today. Studies have shown that increasing women's participation in STEM fields can drive innovation, boost productivity, and contribute to economic growth. And yet, women continue to be underrepresented in these fields, especially at higher education and leadership levels. In sub-Saharan Africa, I think you know these numbers better than I do, women make up less than 30% of professionals in STEM, with an even lower number of women occupying leadership roles. So while we have made progress, there is still much to do and much to be done to unlock the full potential of women and girls in these fields. This is why it's important to have this discussion today, to identify and address the specific challenges that women face in STEM and leadership, especially at the university level. I am truly honored to be joined by an exceptional panel of women who are breaking barriers, leading by example in the STEM fields in Africa. They will share their experiences. They will discuss how they have overcome gender barriers and highlight how they are driving meaningful change through their work and within their environments. So before we proceed, let me take a moment to introduce our distinguished panel, starting with Professor Emily Achieng Akuno, who is the Vice Chancellor of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology in Kenya. A round of applause. Next to her is Professor Folasade Tolulope Ogunsola, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos in Nigeria. Then we have Dr. Ruth Magreta, who is the Deputy Center Leader of the APA Center in Malawi. And Dr. Magreta serves in the Center for Excellence on Agricultural Policy Analysis at Lilongwe University. Finally, our fourth panelist is Ms. Fauzia Mohammed Zuka. She's actually a student at Assekor, University of Cape Coast, Ghana. Actually, she's just completed, so I should have called her Dr. Fauzia. Dr. Fauzia has just completed her PhD in Integrated Coastal Zone Management from the Africa Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience at the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. Welcome. So you can see that we have really found excellent panelists who are going to help us have this conversation, identify problems, share their experiences, and lead the way in terms of identifying solutions. But at the end of their contributions, I'm hoping that we will have time and that we will have a huge line of people who are going to want to ask questions to our panelists, and so that we have a very interactive discussion given the importance of this topic. Let me start with a first round of questions. Professor Emily Akuno, when I was reading your bio, I was extremely intrigued because Professor Emily trained as a music performer educator, and her research focuses on the cultural relevance of music education, and she has served as president of the International Music Council and the International Society for Music Education. So my first question is, what was your journey that led you from there to becoming the Vice Chancellor of a University of Science and Technology in Kenya? Please.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have the response, and I just need to know where to point this at. Oh, good. And before I go any further, there's a movie called A Few Good Men. I just want to show a few good women. The first to come up was Professor Wangari Maathai, a Nobel laureate in 2004. Environment, I think, is what she got her Nobel Peace Prize on. The second at the bottom corner is my contemporary, Professor Catherine. And then we have a young lady who doesn't like malaria at all, and she's working hard to make sure that communities are not wiped out because of malaria. Then we have this publication, African Women and Intellectual Leadership. Talks about 22 ladies from one small section of Kenya, examples that we do well to follow. One of those spoken about in this publication is Nora Olembo. The other is Ruth Onyango, a nutritionist. The other is Lady Justice, retired Lady Justice Effie Owuor, who was a first in so many things. And Professor Julia Ojambo, a nutritionist. Why did I bring this? Because there are a few good men, a few good women as well. And so let me come to their preamble. I would really like to appreciate the organizers for having me here, and to appreciate those who held our hands as Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology. I'm grateful to the World Bank, to the Kenya government, and to the other two units that make sure that we too came on board. In terms of background, I think all of this is coming in the backdrop of what I can only call a fiercely patriarchal society and male-dominated science disciplines. To make it, they must break free from one and try to break into another. There are several barriers to be broken. Again, there's that myth that science is hard. So here is a music professor saying science is not hard. I went into music by choice, not because it was easy. And at one point, believe me, it was harder than physics, from my experience. So there's the myth that science is hard and that woman is weak. That probably explains why there are less than 30 women in STEM research and development workforce globally. And I see a need to encourage barrier-reduced economies that will free all players to participate in all roles at their level of ability. So my story, I think now I can come to the question. Like many females, probably in Africa of around my age, there is a common thread, and that thread is a champion. My champion, the name of my champion has 4 letters, M-A-M-A, Mama, my mother, was my champion. But the key things in my story are, number one, the foundation. And that foundation started at the family. I am number 4 of my mother's many children. In my community, you don't count the children, otherwise they'll die. And in my mother's house, school was not an option. It was the option. Again, in my mother's house, in my family, and that foundation that helped us a lot, were discipline and consistency. And consistency and consistency and consistency. It is not that today you can do this and tomorrow, okay, so you're tired, you can't do it. You've got to be consistent. And I think that helped a lot of women that I know about. The support structure, that helped me. And heavily at high school. I was privileged to have high school teachers who believed in me and who believed that despite being probably one of the best in the sciences, that it was okay for me to go and study music. I think the girls need somebody who believes in them. I had a mother who was committed to excellence. I had a social and cultural environment that was rich with opportunities, the kinds of opportunities that got you out of class and told you to go and put into practice what you had learned in class. And I'll give you an example. We were taught to compose music. And in our lifetime in school, there were opportunities to compose music and send it out. And my teacher did not compose the music. She got the students to compose the music. So my support structure included opportunities to behave professionally while still a student. And then the rest comes to the individual woman, your personal commitment and passion. And for me, that's how I ended up in what was then a very rare science discipline, the sonic science of music. And that brought with it a different kind of visibility, the kind of visibility that Trina has just mentioned in part of my biography. Because colleagues, let's face it, there comes a time when somebody is looking for an African to fill a space. And they'll be trying to find out which African can fill that space. And you've got to be good. You've got to be visible. So your CV needs to be visible. These, in my story, built the confidence, the desire, and the spirit and drive for excellence that I needed. But the question then is, what were the barriers? And I have forgotten how this works. I have not done a good job. Thank you. What were the barriers? The same family, imagine, becomes a barrier. The cultural barriers that have with the culture that has within perceived roles for the male and the female children, members of that family. Those formative years, those can be barriers. Why? Where there are not sufficient mentors and role models. I told my dad I wanted to do music, and he asked me, who do you know who puts food on the table from music? There were no role models. It is easier to walk the beaten path than to try and carve a niche for yourself. Again, under those formative years, the gender stereotypes, there are several narratives in the air. Darius Ogutu, what you didn't know is that when I was 6 years old, I was invited to take a very lucrative position of a babysitter. And I was very excited about it, and I was going, and my mother said, no, I'm glad she did. What is in the air? What do you hear? And what do you allow it to do for your female relatives, for those girls that you're trying to encourage? Another barrier is access. And access comes in interesting ways. The educational inequities and limited scholarship opportunities. Now I remember that there are places where there were not enough training resources and opportunities. For example, back home, the only way to study music was to go into education program. And I'm glad I did, because then I could study music. There was no other option. I am aware also of inadequate institutional capacity to support specialized courses. Some of the girls in the book that I mentioned, when they got to high school, they were not able to move on to the courses of their desire because the girls' schools either did not offer mathematics at A levels, at advanced levels, or only offered physical sciences. Now, physical sciences combined physics and chemistry. And with that, you're not going to do medicine. So those are some of the barriers. And again, my machine. I'm supposed to be moving to how I overcame those barriers. I really don't know how to point with this thing. The third one is the work-family balance, and that is a challenge. So overcoming those barriers, my story, please just scroll all through all the way to the end of that. Yes. No, the next one. Yeah, just give me. Okay, so my story, I had someone. I always had someone who believed in me in high school, somewhere. The opportunities that we make available to the individuals without restricting that this is for girls and this is for boys. The champion. In high school, I had 3. The school principal, we called her Auntie. She believed that whatever you wanted to do, you could do. Well, she had to. She had more than 600 girls to take care of. Then 2 of my music teachers. And they just taught me whatever was available to be taught. And I wonder how many girls get that kind of support. Globally, the strategies for overcoming these barriers. I believe that there need to be strategic interventions to combat the internalized gender biases so that we do not make culture an inhibitor to personal growth. I also think that affirmative action has its place, but affirmative action should not result in mediocrity, which means, girls, that if we are going to really build the world and take good advantage of affirmative action, we need to be good as it is. At national level, policy intervention, be it in the school, in the workplace, gender sensitivity in the curriculum as well, and then establishing formal support networks and fora for female students. I think when I come back to talk about what we have done as a university, I'll be able to mention about those. And then at personal level, I keep telling people that I come from Africa, and in Africa, things don't happen, things are done. The global world will do certain things. At national level, certain things will also happen. But how about at personal level? And I think we need to ensure that we can develop our schedules flexibly enough to enable us engage with the things that we need to engage with at specific times. And then also to seek a supportive work environment where that is necessary. I believe I should stop there for the first question. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Akuno. You've really highlighted how important it is to have role models and also new types of expectations and aspirations, and the role that social norms play in sometimes shaping the barriers, but also maybe the opportunities that one needs to take advantage of. Fascinating. So let me move on to Professor Folasade Tolulope Ogunsola, Vice Chancellor Ogunsola. You are leading a very prominent university, the University of Lagos. What role do universities play, or can they play, and must they play in engaging with society and the community to address some of the social norms and societal barriers that Professor Emilia Akuno just talked about? Because those social norms really affect girls and young women and their ability to pursue or even enter into the STEM fields and to advance further. And for people who want to make this a career, it can prove to be a significant an obstacle to them. So what role can universities play?
Thank you very much for asking this question. But before I answer, let me thank the organizers for inviting me here. It's really an honor to be here to tell our story and to talk about some of the things that we are doing that would help. And I suspect that a lot of things will overlap as we go ahead. I believe we have a moral imperative as universities in our social contract with our communities to ensure that we seek out the girl child, especially for STEM. And why do I say so? Part of this is really that girls are socialized for marriage. We're socialized to be feminine. We're socialized to be nice, socialized not to take up space, socialized to ensure everybody else is comfortable. And we're told everything is, things like engineering is a man's job, and we're socialized to be female and feminine. And so many young girls have internalized that bias right from when they were young. Let me say a little bit that internalization is not something that you necessarily realize that you have internalized. I grew up in a family where, if you asked me, the girls and the boys were treated the same. But when it came to leadership, I remember the reason I went for being the first female provost was because after a lot of people had talked to me, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. One day somebody had spoken, and a thought popped into my mind, it's a man's job. And I thought, where did that come from? I didn't think I was like that. And on that basis, I decided to go for it. I said, what's the worst that can happen? I won't get it. And to also say that the only woman who had tried before me got only 4 votes in the whole College of Medicine at that time. So what must we do? I look at it from 2 perspectives. From what we do within our communities, because we have this social contract. What do we do with the communities to ensure we have girls coming in to the university for STEM? And then what do we do when they do come in to ensure that they live and will continue to be supported till they've gone? So in terms of what we can do as universities with our communities is what I call the Catch Them Young program. And that we have to be very intentional. You're going to hear a lot of me saying intentional, because we do some of these things, but we do them in an ad hoc way that sometimes the impact is not felt. So we have to be intentional in going out to our communities. And I think for every university, there is an immediate community that we must make our impact before we go into the great world. I mean, we have the education, they do school field visits, we have people who do outreaches, but we all just go where we want. And I think as a university, one of the things we need to do is identify the communities that we want to make an impact, that we can then use as examples to show what can be done. And these will also be places where the feedback works for us as a university. So we encourage, and at the university we do workshops, we do outreaches to the community. These outreaches are to talk with students in the primary school. We have teachers who go into these schools to talk to them. We also engage parents, teachers associations about encouraging the girls, to come to do the STEM courses. Recently we did a needs assessment in our community. University of Lagos is surrounded by slums and so we met with all the chiefs and to talk to them about what were their problems that the universities could solve. And some of this was our children don't have work, the girls get married, they get pregnant. And so we told them we will assist in this area. So we're in the second phase of intervention. We're having meetings of what's next to do. We also have created scholarships, working with our alumni to give scholarships to girls who want to do STEM, to ensure that funding is not an issue. The other one is the platform we have as universities to create awareness for STEM. Again, we do this, but not again as intentionally as we should, but we've been improving in this intentional engagement as to women in STEM. And part of doing this is that we are working with a lot of female-led science and STEM associations that help in advocacy and also work to encourage a lot of the young women in STEM. We have public lectures, and we have a communication unit where we highlight the achievement of female scientists and what they are doing. One other platform we use is at Convocation. When we have all the ministers, we talk about what the, not just the female, but we highlight female, what they have achieved, especially those in the science areas, what they have done. The next one that we often try to do is, or that I believe universities should do, is we must create the answers to the challenges, and those challenges in terms of the barriers and so on. But it's not only that, it is then when we have the answers, which I believe many universities have, how do we translate this and make sure it gets to the policy, the people that can actually make this policy for the country? So one of the things that we've started doing much better, two things. One, when we're starting such research, we talk to the policy makers so that when we finish, we then discuss and have a policy round table. The other thing we do is that if we work in the community concerning these things, we go back to talk to them about our findings, to help them to bring in the girls and also those who are underserved, including those who are disabled, because they are also another vulnerable group. We encourage our lecturers and faculty to join government advisory boards and so on, so that their voices can be heard. Every little bit counts. The other thing we do is engaging with our alumni, especially in the engineering faculty, where we have a lot of female alumni, and they are on our advisory board in co-creating the curriculum, but more importantly, for the students to see that we do have women who are doing very well in the STEM. The other thing that we have been doing quite a bit is when we have inaugural lectures that speak to a particular topic, and we've had quite a number that have spoken to women in STEM and policies that could increase this. We send these to the ministry for them to, and they've thanked us for it. It has been a very rewarding thing, and sometimes they've invited these lecturers to come and see them to talk more about how this can be implemented. The university also, I looked at our enrollment figures for STEM in the last 5 years. And there was a split in science, in the sciences. If you talk about the sciences that had some nurturing, that were more biological, some chemistry, there was a preponderance of women. There were girls. It was either 1-to-1 or usually 4-to-1 from the female side, female to male. But when you move to engineering, in the last 5 years, the ratio was about 6 or 8 men to 1 female. In the sciences, physics, statistics, maths, biostatistics, we found, again, more male than female. So there's clearly the part of science that the women seem not to, and we're trying to encourage them to take this. And we've spoken with some of our alumni and we've created a slot for 1 or 2 really good ones. They must be competent, and some of those in the community, for them to come in if we have smart girls. We look at their results, and even if they do not get into some parts of the more, for example, someone could apply for engineering. Some engineering slots have higher scores than others. Many students don't ask for biomedical engineering. We offer them, would you like to do this engineering for those who, so we do that. Then female hires. there are few women in the engineering faculties. And so we are intentionally looking for them because they make powerful role models as well, and they're usually very hardworking. In addition, because we know many of them may not stay, we try to find ways to support them. And I think COVID was a blessing because it brought in flexi hours, which was something that would have been very difficult to do. Now they can work from home and then they can come in. And we have to recognize that the workplace is definitely male-oriented, meetings at night and so on. So online has really helped. We also bring in female role models to come and talk to students, to come and work with our female staff. And we have spoken quite a lot with our alumni to take in young women for internship. And this has been improving. Our robotics classes faculty, which is run by a woman, what we call the Air Lab, has been in the last 4 years having boot camps every summer for young women in the slums, teaching them how to code. They've been making robots. They've been going in for competitions. And this has really been something they find very exciting. The class started with about 10 students. Now we're oversubscribed, and we're still trying to find better ways of increasing the numbers and bringing more girls in. We also have, as the head of our unit on Innovation Technology Management Office, a young engineer. And how have we done this? Because the last two heads of these units have been female. And really, the thing was that we invested in them. Any training that needs to be done in engineering, we ensure that there's always at least 1 or 2 women, and it has been paying off. So I think from the university point of view, we have, I could say, 3 things we must do. We must face the community, catching them young, trying to ensure that we develop a line of young women who will go into STEM by talking to them, showing them role models, talking to their parents, talking to community heads so that they do not hold them back. Then we also have to share with them and support them to demystify science and engineering. And we're doing that also by workshops that we give in the community. And then we bring them in. We have to find ways to ensure that women who apply for engineering and who are good come in. If it's funding, we find ways to support them. And then when they do come in, we have to support them with an environment that works. Now, because especially engineering, but that's not to say that that's where the problems all lie, and in the sciences, issues such as sexual harassment, bullying, then becomes even more impactful because we don't have too many women, and if they disappear. So we have policies to support them and create a safe work environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Folasade Ogunsola. Thank you very much for identifying very practical ways in which universities can both challenge social norms, but also create a very enabling environment for female students and professionals to advance in their careers going forward. I'm going to come back to Professor Emily, but before I do that, I just was struck by something you said, Vice Chancellor. You said that when the post of provost was coming up, your go-to thought was, this is a man's job. And I just want to share with the audience your background. You have earned an MB-CHB from the Obafemi Awolowo University, a master's in medical microbiology from the University of Lagos, and a PhD from the University of Wales. You have specialized in medical microbiology with a focus on disease control, particularly HIV/AIDS, and are a very distinguished academic and researcher in this field. So even with that kind of background, you still felt a gender barrier or norm that was challenging your own self-perception. I find that really remarkable.
Yes, and I have to say, beyond that background, I come from an academic family. So I really had no business having that thought at all. But when I looked at the provosts that had been there from inception, they were all men, and they were all older men, and they were all close to retirement. And nobody looked like me. But I didn't know I held that thought at all. So when it popped into my head, I decided that I had come on a journey to the stage where that kind of thought needed to be, pushed back.
Yes.
And so I decided I was going to go against it. And I won, because it's by election. And I think I will add something to it. I was a shy child. So the idea of going for election and campaigning was totally alien. And in fact, it was probably one of the major reasons I didn't want to be provost. I didn't know how to do it. But what I found is that you will always find a way to do things. And so there were the barriers to be broken by the very nature of being shy. And I did my work. So I think I had got to a stage in my life when I knew there's always a way. It may not be conventional, but if you've decided to do it, you do it afraid, or you do it anyway. So that's my motto.
Wonderful, thank you. Professor Emily, I just wanted to come back to you. You are a vice chancellor. So if you could share also some of the practical measures that your university is taking to create more of a welcoming environment for women and young women to come into this field and stay the course.
Thank you, Trina. I think the power of the narratives that are in the air, you can never beat them. They catch up with you at a moment when you can't even believe that you believed that, and this is exciting. But we are a rural university, and I keep saying that in many spaces. And there is a way that we behave and we want to behave. I also note the demographics. Where do my students come from? Where have my colleagues come from? Why did they come to the back of the country to work there? Some of the activities that I have seen on campus recently, one was for students. It's called Engage. We were collaborating with the University of Nairobi, and this was to get young ladies interested in ICT. And they came in, it was basically a boot camp. They came in and we gave them the ICT literacy skills, and I'm told they did excellent things. So that is one. The second is something that was created in the university before I got there. The acronym is JOLANET, Joust Ladies Network. And I have been advised, I've been told that the ladies just decided to come together, get the administration to support their network so that they could support one another and be the champions for the female students. That champion, I think, is important. Prof, you mentioned intentionality. It is there. We just intentionally work on trying to normalize or trying to even the numbers if you can. And so when it comes to appointment, affirmative action, not so that quality is compromised. Always, we do not compromise quality. So sometimes through affirmative action, we manage to get women in middle-level administrative roles that hadn't happened before. And sometimes, and it is true, you bring in somebody in an acting capacity because they don't have the grade that will let them be in that particular role, but bring them in an acting capacity, and then make sure that those training opportunities you always include, always include a number of ladies. Like We have a training opportunity next week for proposal writing, grant proposal writing. And I noted that in the list, that a list of 6, 2 of them are male, the other 4 are female. This is very deliberate so that we have women also writing proposals for grants. One of the other things that I found and I am championing is the retention of the valedictorian as part of staff development. And in the recent past, I've been very keen on the female valedictorian because she stands there as a role model for somebody else who doesn't think that a woman can be good enough. Our last graduation's valedictorian, no, the previous one, was a lady in actuarial science, and she was a good one, and we have taken her back in. Again, policy. Policy, we have a gender mainstreaming policy, which addresses inequities, gender bias, gender disparity in training, research, welfare, governance, community outreach, and it covers access, retention, progression, etc. The emphasis through this policy is inclusion. But Trina, it is one thing to have the policy and to make sure that it works. So some of these things that I'm doing are to make sure that that policy works. So capacity building through workshops and an attempt to reduce imbalance, especially in leadership. I have noticed that I'm now sitting looking at Senate, and I note that most of my left-hand side is female. I'm visualizing our Senate. A lot of my left-hand side is female, which is a little different from the Senate that I inherited. So it is deliberate to give ladies that extra push so that they can be visible, and that visibility of the lady has an impact on the female student because they see that women too can. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We seem to have lost our backdrop. Hopefully it will come back to join us. All right, so I'm going to move on to Dr. Ruth Magreta. She is the deputy leader of one of our ACEs. This ACE is focused on excellence in agricultural policy analysis. It's called APA, and it's at Lilongwe University in Malawi. Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, LUANAR, in Malawi. So Dr. Magreta, as somebody who is one of the leaders of the ACE itself, you are perhaps closer to the students that attend the ACE, the university. So in your interactions with the students, what do you hear about what kinds of challenges are affecting today's generation of young women who are trying to enter and be effective, be leaders in these STEM areas?
Thank you very much for that question, and I would like to thank the organizers for according me the opportunity to sit here in front with these honorable leaders to discuss these issues. First and foremost, yes, students come to us at the center with different issues, not only challenges, they also come and share with us their achievements, even outside academic, their personal achievements. At times we even laugh, say, was this really an issue that you wanted me to know? They are like, yes, 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 you are the one to know because I'm so happy. And they just need that human face. They just need that support. And I'm glad that as centers, leaders, we are able to provide for that. Coming to the barriers, students come to us from a number of issues. It's a whole spectrum. They range from financial support, academic guidance when it comes to their research. Maybe they want us to help them how best they can navigate through their academic and personal life. I'm glad that even our VCs in front, they have also shared with us that they also faced that challenge. So you can see that this challenge of navigating personal and academic life, it's still coming up even in this era. So these are some of the issues, and also there are some mentorship. And one thing that we've seen is where students are even coming in at postgraduate level to look for internship opportunities, internship support. So it's no longer about mentorship, but they are also moving forward internship. Now, when it comes to some of these challenges, we receive issues to do with living costs. With the rising cost of living, and most of us, we have our fixed stipend to support them. There's an issue there. They are always coming to us to say, it's no longer feasible maybe to survive. Can you help us? So the good thing is we peg our stipend, the allowances to the US dollar, so that when changes like those, when there are some monetary changes, policy changes, their stipend is already upgraded using the prevailing exchange rates to cushion them from such incidences. Secondly, is to do with family-related financial pressures, especially for international students. So we receive complaints from international students, concerns that their families back home need some money, they would want to send money, but then since the stipend is credited in their accounts, maybe they are failing to send the money. With monetary policies, the banks, maybe they are not helping them. So we come in with some bank letters, support letters, documentation to help these students with the remittance issues, so that at least their families back home are happy, and them psychologically, when they know their families are safe financially, they can concentrate on their studies. With this academic and personal life balancing, they come in with so many different stories. They range, and the spectrum is just too wide. So at times you find yourself as a center leader handling their cases as individuals. So we have those issues that need to be handled on case-by-case basis. Some of them, their issues are related to what we went through. So we also provide them with our own life experience, sharing with them how we navigated through those challenges and how we are able to come out triumph. Other issues, from Luana, we have counselors, university-appointed counselors that counsel students. So if it's an issue that requires maybe counseling services, they are referred to such offices. And I'm glad that with the Centers of Excellence, we also have our safeguard person who is always there to support these students when they have such issues. The other challenge that they bring forward are to do with the infrastructure. I'm glad that we are advancing as Centers of Excellence, building infrastructure to support teaching and learning, but there's still a gap. We still have a gap to do with accommodation of students, postgraduate students, both at national and international, both for national and international students. So with those issues, they still come in. And honestly speaking, when these issues come, we move in fast to assist. We know that if they are comfortable, they will also work hard in class, they will concentrate. So we come in, we help out, we assist wherever we can, but still more, if there is support that can go to the Centers of Excellence, to the universities, to boost the infrastructure within Africa, I'm sure this issue, come the next 10 years or 5 years, it will no longer be an issue to do with teaching and learning. I mentioned something on mentorship and internship needs. So they come to us. I'm going through this postgraduate student, and remember, we are now having a pool of undergraduates. There's an increase in undergraduate intake, and most of them, when they finish undergraduate, they enroll straight into the postgraduate program. They don't have the opportunity for work experience with these high unemployment rates that we are also facing within the continent. So they come in to say, I'm doing this program, I'm excelling well, I'm one of the top students. However, I would love to see myself be a leader somewhere. I would love to see myself be an innovator somewhere, open up my own company. Who can help me reach to that stage? So we see this mentorship issue coming in at postgraduate level, and there are those mentorship programs that are running through different organizations like Award offers this mentorship program. So when calls like those come out, we extend them to students to say, can you try and apply to this course? So we utilize the social media platforms, even personal engagement, to ensure that opportunities that are there that can help them with their career path, they are at their hands, they are able to apply, they are able to compete, and we are glad that most of them get in because they took a step to apply. And the other thing is about the internship. They come in to say, we want on-the-job training. And with these unemployment rate, higher unemployment rates, we are not able to secure maybe jobs without experience. So how best can we get into the private sector, public sector, as a postgraduate student for this internship? So there are those also initiatives that have been there where our students have at postgraduate level, after completing their studies, they go in as interns to acquire skills, then they move forward, especially for the master's degree program where it does not have an internship component, rather unlike the undergraduate one. So we ensure that our students also interact with the private sector through arranging of seminars. So we've had several seminars where both international experts, local experts, they come in and out to ensure that they offer this information to our students. They are able to see what's happening out there and realign themselves on where they would like to find themselves. We also support student exchange, which exposes our students to international networks as well as local networks. And this is also where we get most feedback. Some students come in to say, I'm so happy I went for that exchange visit. Apart from this is how it goes. Apart from gaining the knowledge and also exposing myself in this career or my field, can you imagine this was my first flight out? I've never been on a plane. And I'm so excited because in my family, I'm the first one to fly out. So they come in with these personal issues, they're happy, and you find them when they go in class with that high momentum, you know that your students will perform at the end of the day.
Dr. Ruth,
Yes.
Thank you very much for all of these insights into the many dynamics and barriers that are overcome by these young women. I want to just actually follow up with a question. You have on the panel vice chancellors. You have many vice chancellors in the audience as well. This is your opportunity to make a few recommendations from your point of view based on your direct interactions with students as to what they could do, what they should do in their universities.
Thank you very much for that. One of the issues that I would love our universities, our vice chancellors to do is let's promote. I know in some universities, like my university, we have gender responsive budgeting to ensure that there's equal access by women to get research grants. So for instance, there are some university grants within our university that are open to faculty members. So when you are applying for that particular university grant, it is well stipulated that you need to ensure that your budget is gender sensitive. So it is an initiative by the university, not a deliberate one, but rather something that is written in black and white to ensure that even faculty members, they bring on board women, support them, provide innovative spaces for them, research support. So we work with students, both male and female, but this is something that comes in. And the other issue that comes in is where we have so many young women, young mothers coming to our universities, and we want them to enroll into STEM programs, but they are in this productive age group, and they come in pregnant, at times they get pregnant while doing their coursework. So there's need for universities to provide on-campus childcare. Let's have infrastructure that can support these young women with their children on campus. And let's have hospitals within reach the university. At our university, we have a hospital right in our campus. So we know that when a child gets sick, when someone falls sick, male, female, they have that immediate attention by the healthcare. Not only infrastructure in terms of building, let's have ambulances within our universities so that when we have critical cases, we are able to ferry them to the hospital in time. We've listened to our vice chancellors. They've mentioned about boot camps. They've mentioned about short courses. And I would love to add to that. Say, apart from targeting the STEM programs, short courses, let's also bring in or support our departments to conduct resilience and well-being workshops to address burnout, family-school balance issues amongst these students. We need that, and it should come out as part of the university strategy to say, let's have courses around those, let's have boot camps around those areas. And we've seen that we are seeing few women coming in the university. I would like our universities to partner with the secondary schools as well, not only the community, but let's target secondary schools in specific to encourage girls at that young age to pursue into this, to pursue STEM subjects. We need to break that barrier at a younger age because, yes, most STEM subjects are considered to be male-dominated. They are difficult for women. I grew up, I had an opportunity to experience life in the rural areas as well as in the urban areas. Those in the urban areas, they have an opportunity to attend to private schools, international schools. They're exposed by my colleagues, but my colleagues in the rural areas, they don't have these opportunities. So let's engage the secondary schools to ensure that we have more students. We can also, our universities, our vice chancellors, let's launch some bridging programs where those students coming from non-STEM programs are introduced to the STEM programs before they enroll into the STEM programs at bachelor's degree. We have this at Luana, and it helps a lot. We've seen an increase in number of female students coming in. And also, let's increase the visibility of women in leadership roles, the way we've done here. I accord the organizers that you had this session. Let's increase that visibility, not only for this audience, but also for the audience back home, the communities, the private sector. Let's increase this audience. Let's bring women in the spotlight. Those that are doing well, let them share their experiences so that that young woman back there should be able to associate herself with the leaders of today to say, I can be that particular person in future. And finally, as centers of excellence, my colleagues in here, let's continue to support our universities in gender-related activities. We have financial muscle to do that. Let's take some of these issues on board, engage our universities, work together, and at the end of the day, we should be able to see a better Africa. Sorry, Madam Facilitator, this one, I'll burn my blanket if I go back home. I would like our universities to consider collaborating with the industry as we develop our curricula. In this era, we are going more digital, we are going more innovative and all that. So when we are developing our programs at undergraduate level, let's engage the industries, the private sector, to ensure that whatever we are working on, whatever we are teaching our students is in line with what the industry wants. And this can increase the employability rate of our graduates. I hope I was within time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ruth. I want to just note in particular one thing that you said, which is that given high youth unemployment and unemployment rates, often our students cannot find work opportunities while they are moving from one layer of education to the next. So the more that we can integrate industry-related aspects into our programs in ACE, I think the better, because it not only ensures that the skills that are being developed have an application and a demand, but also provides some opportunities for those apprenticeships or internships and so on, work opportunities that might otherwise be difficult for young women and young men to access. So thank you very much, and thank you for giving a very detailed set of practical measures that I'm sure all of our VCs have taken lots of notes on. Now I'm going to go to our last panelist, and I'm going to ask Dr. Fauzia 3 questions. So time yourself, please, because after that, we're going to open up for some discussion, hopefully, and questions from the floor. So the first question has to do with your personal journey. You have just completed your PhD in coastal resource management. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
How it all started, it was just curiosity. I have a background in economics. My undergraduate was in economics, and then my master's was in economics. But I wanted something away from our mainstream economic analysis, doing microeconomic studies and all of that. So in one of our courses, we were introduced to how humans interact with the environment. So that aspect of economics intrigued me. So I had to speak to one of my professors, a natural resource economist. He didn't make the decision for me, but then he exposed me to 2 key sectors in natural resource management, mining and fisheries. And after speaking to him, I realized that with the coastal environment or our coastal communities, we had a lot of unscripted stories, especially for women. Although they contribute significantly to this sector, their roles go unrecognized in economic analysis. So I had to pursue this. And it motivated my master's thesis. I was looking at the pricing behavior of women in coastal communities in Ghana. After that, I wanted to do more. So luckily, at the point, the ACE score was launched. It was launched around that time I finished my master's, and I was actually one of the lucky recipients of the scholarship and the pioneer of the PhD program. So I was enrolled and I started the journey, and I was with the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Science. The whole program was facilitated by ACE score, and now I'm here in the new field, coastal management. I've been doing economics all my life, and I had to do something new. But although it was challenging, I still wanted to do it. So that's how it all started. And I was resilient because there was a sense of purpose. I wanted to do it, and I had support from my professors encouraging me to, because in the area of resource economics, we just have few ladies trying to do something along that area. So basically, that's how it started for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fazia. So relatedly is the second question. You are a graduate of one of our ACEs in Ghana. So the question to you, the second one is, what resources from the ACE mentorship or systems did you leverage in your journey that you just described? And where do you see gaps still remaining? And please be honest about that so that we can address those going forward.
Sure. So I was one of the few students that benefited from the ACE project a lot. And knowing that the center was ready to fund everything related to the field, I also explored global opportunities. So the center was ready to give me support letters for all my application, and I was successful to win a global affairs scholarship to be in Canada for 6 months at University of British Columbia. I also interned with the World Bank through the support from the center. And in one of my exploration, I had to also travel to Koper in Slovenia to do for a summer school. And the center was ready to fund everything for me. So I had all the support I needed. And I remember when I submitted my thesis, and then after examination, I needed to do my viva, I had a baby. So the thesis was in, I needed to do my viva, they set a date. I told them I can't do it, I just delivered. The center director, the department head, they all told me, relax, you'll be fine. When you are fine, then you come back to do your viva. So I had all the support. But then when it comes to the barriers, we still need more, especially for female students. They still need to be mentored, at least with the industry players. So if you really want to be in STEM, you should have people you look up to, because I had the support. I had people to advise me, so I was able to navigate the whole area well. So I think that we need to create structured mentorship program for female students in STEM, female students who are ready to explore, who are ready to go far, and they should have all the systems in place to help them. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And the last question to you. Share a little bit, if you would, about the research that you have just completed. And how do you see that positively impacting other women and inspiring them to come into the STEM field of research and education?
Okay, sure, thank you. So with my research, like I said, I was looking at the women coastal dwellers, what they do. And usually the discussion around empowerment has been that women are disempowered. But I didn't believe that, because I feel that empowerment is contextual. You can't just assume that because women are disempowered in agriculture, it should be the same for fisheries. So when you visit most coastal communities, you realize that women play a significant role. For Ghanaian fishing communities, they even finance fishing expedition. So they are empowered. So that necessitated my research area. So looking at that, I wanted to develop an empowerment index that looks at women's participation in fisheries, and then for us to be able to also go back to the community and help women, we should know where they are actually lagging behind. Not assume that for women in these communities, this is the problem. You need to have the indices to be able to know that this particular area, they are having issues for us to be able to give sustainable solutions to their problem, not just assume. So basically, my research has been around the women in fisheries and what they have been doing, and also looking at intersecting different vulnerabilities in our coastal communities and how it affects household welfare, like food security, and then environmental poverty. So this has been, for young women trying to do that, I think it has started people have started. You can also do it. You don't assume that you have structural barriers. No. Speak to the right people, and then also know that your perspective matters. What you want to do is valid. Speak to the right people to guide you, and you can do it. So young people should be able to carve their own path, although it's unconventional. For most of us who have background in economics, it has always been doing stuff in economics, talking about the economy, talking about macroeconomic indicators, the exchange rate, and all of that. But if you want to go unconventional, you should know that you can do it. People have done it, and you can also do it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So our panelists have spoken, and now I want to turn to the audience to see if there are questions, observations, comments. I don't know who has microphones or how we get these to you. Honorable Minister from Malawi.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All protocols observed. Let me start by thanking the esteemed scholars that I see in front of us discussing the issue of women in sciences. I think you've covered the problem that is there, but I feel there needs to be a further interrogation of affirmative action and how it is being applied. I couldn't help seeing that my esteemed sister there kept emphasizing that we are not compromising mediocrity. And you know, as a feminist scholar, I hold a PhD in feminist political theory. So when people are talking about women and men, I'm astounded by the way mediocrity of women shocks people and they don't want it. Yet we've lived with mediocrity for men all our lives. You see, my point is, mediocrity does not have a gender. In fact, privilege, and this thing you call merit, is discourse of the privileged. When you talk about a patriarchal world, the issue is what you've said correctly. Let's have affirmative action. But you see people who quickly say, but don't bring in mediocrity. Look, we have lived with mediocre men all our lives. And this never stopped the world from running. And I don't understand why people, when we talk about women empowerment, we now say we want to only have quality women. There's nothing like that. Quality is a work in progress. Push women with unapologetically. If they make mistakes, we will correct them. The world will not stop running. There are men who are in big positions, and quite honestly, they can't tell the difference between the right and the left, but they're in the positions. We've seen them, right? So I want to make it very, very clear. As a feminist who is a very, very proud one, you know, and I make no apologies to anyone for that. I'm someone who believes I'm equal to everybody, and I think I have a right to make a mistake. If I make a mistake, I am a human being. I'm not saying I'm perfect. So when opportunities are made, for heaven's sake, affirmative action means we are trying to bring positive discrimination because patriarchy was discriminating against them. So when you do this positive, you can't get it right first time. You are going to get some women who are not up to the par, just as we've had some men who were pushed just because of their sex. So if we're going to do it negatively, we need to accept it means positive discrimination. And by this, what it means is there are people we are going to have, women who are going to have, because until now, nobody has made a system where when we sleep together, both the man and the woman get pregnant. It's only us. All right? So, as long as it's like that, let's make products to strengthen these who make it. The first thing is let's go through the glass ceiling. When we go through the barriers, some are going to go. It's the same argument that was done in South Africa. When white, black empowerment came, they said, you are pushing mediocrity. You are pushing mediocrity in the name of pushing people because they are black. They forgot that we're being pushed out because we are black. So we need a system that says, as long as you are black, you are going to go through here. And then if there are problems, we'll deal with them there. Affirmative action also needs to be timed and needs products. But please, let's not spend time on the methodology. The issue of merit is an issue of privilege. And most men, the minute they are born, religion says they are leaders. The culture says they are leaders. But with you and me, we start from being told, we don't think you are a leader. Even when you are the first day here, we're told this is the first woman to be a vice chancellor. Showing you that she had to jump through hula hoops, and if she makes one mistake, you see, we told you, women must not be, as if we're supposed to be perfect just because we've made it. I'm saying this because all my life, I have lived this business of people asking affirmative action if it is not pushing riffraff. And the truth of the matter is, yes, it is. Because to correct a structure, you have to have a structure that destroys the structure that brought you. And patriarchy is a structure. We need to bring affirmative action, which is a positive discrimination structure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The right to make a mistake. I like that very much. Anybody else? I also want to hear from men, please. Sorry?
Thank you very much, moderator, and all our esteemed ladies. Dr. Kedres Turiajenda. I'm the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Education and Sports in Uganda. By training, a chemistry mathematics high school teacher, and I've moved through to train many others to teach. I want to just add something small from what my sister has said, that positive affirmative action adds a lot of value. About 30-something years ago, the government of Uganda decided that because at that time it was not even just STEM, it was about going into higher education. I remember in my class of 60 students, there were just 4 of us doing chemistry for university. So the government made a decision that for girls, after A levels, they will add for them 1.5 points as part of entry into university. And I'm glad Timothy, the head of higher education, is here, but it has moved us a great deal, even in the general university and higher education access. It has moved us about 25 or 30 points percentage upwards. And progressively, many more girls now are doing sciences and they are excelling. And incidentally, of late, research seems to show that the girls get more focused on what they do, they finish their courses in the time set, and they excel. So I just want to add to what she said, that when we now encourage them, but also our government made a decision to include ladies in the national leadership. So we got a vice president who was a lady as far back, I don't know as how long, and since then we've had them. As I speak now, the Prime Minister is a lady, the Vice President is a lady, the Speaker of Parliament is a lady. All these are contributory to making girls in Uganda know that, we can also make it, and we can be on top, and we can make sense where we find ourselves. So, my brothers and fathers, let's encourage our girls to do their best.
I'm just mindful of the time. I will take this question, and then I really would like to hear from at least one male or more than one.
Thank you.
But we will try to close in about 10 minutes. So please.
Thank
be
you very
succinct.
much.
Thank you.
Beatrice Muganda Nyangala, PS for Higher Education and Research in Kenya. Two quick points, buttressing on the point that was raised by my sister earlier. Are women leaders born or nurtured? And if you contend that they are nurtured, reflecting on your own capacities, what are some of the qualities that you had to work on to reach up there? And then, what were your great motivations to become vice chancellors? So for the two lady vice chancellors, my pleasure.
Thank you. We'll come back to you guys later. No, let's get the last and then we'll come back. Okay, thank you. We will come back to the panel as the last item. So who is coming?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, please go
Okay,
ahead.
so I like getting involved with these conversations because, yes, we need equity and equality, right? But there's a question, I want to challenge...
Could you just introduce yourself?
My name is Sebastian Arthur, University of Ghana Medical Center. So my question is more of a challenge to the women here. How many successful women have been mentored by women? If you're able to answer this question, you realize that the problem with that disparity is not men, it's actually women. I challenge you, do that research. How many women, successful women, were mentored by women? So men actually support women. That's one thing I want to mention. The second thing is that when we have these conversations, the boot camps and all that, please include men in the boot camps. Let men be there to know that women are also in the space. If you keep yourself in your own cubicle and do your own thing, we don't get to appreciate it and we don't get to support enough. Please include men in your conversations, in your meetings and all that. Thank you.
Thank you. One more male voice.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Levis Enea. I'm the Secretary for Higher Education in Malawi, coming from the background of Director Higher Education in Malawi and a senior lecturer in mathematics at the University of Malawi. I'm giving that background deliberately because I would like to demonstrate something here in support of deliberate affirmative action. Because where we're coming from, when we do a national selection, unless you apply that, you cannot even manage to achieve what our Act, Gender Equality Act says of 40-60% of each gender. And therefore, what we do in selection is that girls or females are given a lower kind of a cutoff point. So we use the point system. I'll give an example of this year's selection into the university. What we had there was, if we had taken everybody the way they have performed, then we were going to get 30% or less of girls we couldn't reach. Therefore, we made a decision that males will stop at 18 points and females at 22 points. With that, we were able to get 50% and the other one, I think 49%. And that's the kind of deliberate affirmative action. And in the appointments, for instance, I think the ladies have already spoken about this. I just also want to just give you a statistic. In our own ministries of education, actually both ministries of education, that's higher education and basic and secondary education, are headed by females, including my own minister here. So I think I would like to support the case that we must do some deliberate action in terms of gender. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I am told that we have two members of our regional steering committee for ACE who would like to come in. And with that, we will turn back to our panels for very short responses from our panelists.
This is Epa from Ethiopia. I would like to comment on what has been said. What I would like to suggest is let's be positive minded. Our sisters, let's be positive. Brothers, let's be positive. I liked the phrase positive discrimination. Positive discrimination is a must. Without positive discrimination, we cannot attain the targets that we want to attain. For example, here, if we want to see the number of females compared to the number of males, it's totally incomparable. It's incomparable. Where we have equal number of females in the world, where we don't have any problem. So let me share with you the experience I have in my life. I was university president in one university back home, and once I decided to recruit only females. Then I recruited 120 females at once in the university for university teaching. And those who were not positive said, why you are making this kind of discrimination? Because we had at the moment only 7% of females in the university, while we were having around 93% of males in the university, which is completely wrong, I could say, because it is a must to have positive discrimination. That is very important, but let's be open-minded. Let's say, okay, females are very important for positions, and men are also very important. But my question is, I have a question to you, Honorable Minister. Question, yeah. My question is, even though I support you, I have a question. My question is, for leadership and for recruitment, we can make positive discrimination. But when it goes to the choice of programs, for example, physics, maths, engineering, how can we do that with positive discrimination? Because it depends on the interest and will of the students, females. So I want your reaction here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last audience member, Regional Steering Committee.
Merci pour la parole. C'est Monsieur Pacifique Ilosio, secrétaire général à l'enseignement supérieur et universitaire de la République démocratique du Congo. En matière de tout ce qui vient de se dire, je suis tout à fait d'accord, surtout avec les sœurs ou les dames qui nous ont précédés dans les interventions. Voyez-vous, lorsque nous voyons le concept science en français, c'est un terme féminin, la science. Malheureusement, nous remarquons que les féminins ou les femmes fuient la science. Pour la plupart, les sciences exactes, on n'y trouve pas beaucoup de filles, déjà au secondaire. Et lorsque dans nos pays, on parle de l'intégration des femmes, on utilise le concept promouvoir. Et cette promotion, nous la retrouvons dans les règles, dans les lois. Mais aucune loi ne dispose un favoritisme. Aucune. On parle, comme je l'ai entendu dire ici, de la méritocratie. On parle de connaissance parce que tout simplement, dans cette promotion, nos règles établissent des critères. Et les critères n'intègrent pas les hommes ou les femmes. Non, c'est un problème de remplir les conditions. Et lorsque les femmes ou les hommes ne remplissent pas les conditions, pardon, les femmes ne remplissent pas les conditions, il ne faut pas directement accuser les hommes d'être des machos. Je ne pense pas. C'est une question, comme l'on a dit ici, de mériter, de remplir les conditions et d'entrer dans la compétition. La nature, elle est compétitive. Et nos femmes, nos femmes, nous disons nos femmes, excusez-moi, je ne dis pas nos femmes, nos épouses, non. Nos femmes, les femmes, doivent intérioriser qu'il s'agit d'une compétition. Tout simplement d'une compétition. Mais je ne nie pas qu'il y ait des responsables qui œuvrent dans une nature régressive de minimiser les dames comme ça par nature. Ceux-là, c'est des machos. Il faut les dégager des fois des postes de responsabilité. Merci.
Merci. That is a different point of view that perhaps our panelists will also comment on. I'm now going to turn to my panelists. However, my request is please 1 minute, not more, please, because we've already run over the time frame. But if you could choose from what you have heard and respond. A minute, Professor Emily.
Thank you so much. My response is to the, shall I call it to the atmosphere, okay, that we've created here. And my sentences are just two, that things don't happen, they're done. So that intentionality that we spoke about. And for me, the second part of what I'm saying is that there's a space, there's a place of departure, the individual first, so that the mindset is changed. And then the community's perceptions of the abilities, the so-called abilities, who can and who cannot do what. And then thirdly, at national level, the policies that will then support these changes that we expect to be. That is my response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will also speak to the atmosphere. And just answer one or two questions. Women respond differently in terms of competition. What you find is that a competent woman, if you throw something open, will be quiet. Not because she does not know. So we have to create the kind of situations, because all these that you said fit the male gender. They're more aggressive. If you ask for nominations, they'll put their hands up. The girl will stay there, probably even more intelligent, but will not speak. So we have to have a way that we identify them and bring them up. And it's not to say, I'm not really a proponent of having many points down, but if you're in a serious patriarchy in the village, women tend not to have been as well educated. So we must have some bridging. So I have that the situation we have now is very male focused. So in our intentionalities, that when we ask for nominations, all the guys, their hands go up. The women are there thinking, should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? And so we have to go out and identify them and bring them on board. And I have to say, they have shown their mettle. In my university, we don't have the difference, it's the same cutoff point for all of them. But what I now do is young women, when we ask for nominations, we actually go there and we nominate some of them because they will not speak up. They'll say, oh, I'm too busy. My husband is this. Ask them to come up, and we take them through training. So some of those disparities will show up. Now, you asked a question. The first thing that a woman I probably had to conquer was myself. I was shy. I had to realize nobody cared about what I was thinking and to do things anyway, because you spend so much time thinking, oh, what will they say? What will they not say? Is it okay? Not okay. So you learn to take the steps anyway. It's a journey. The second one is to invest in yourself. You must know your onions, because that's what will hold you in good stead. Because there's a tendency to minimize what you say. And then, as I said, you need the confidence. The third thing is to be careful the help you get. There's a tendency that if you want to do things as a woman, they'll say, oh, no, that work is too hard for her. You end up not getting the jobs that make you visible because somebody has decided that it's a bit too much for you. So don't accept every help you get. Go out there and compete. You may make mistakes and be ready for that. The pushback is more because a lot of people already believe you can't do it. So they will just say that confirms it. It's a confirmation bias. But don't worry. There's nothing that's coming that has not happened before. And that's the kind of mantra you tell yourself. So I would say invest in yourself. Don't worry so much. Not too many people are looking at you. So just go out and do it. And then do it anyway. You will be scared. But please do not let the fear stop you. Keep moving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ruth.
Thank you very much. I'll also speak to the atmosphere. Thanks for that term. Very inclusive. I like it. So I'll speak to the gentleman at the back who said, you are up there. Who mentored you? I would say that they are women. I'll give a personal example. I have 3 sisters. I'm the youngest. All my 3 sisters, they have their PhDs, they have their masters. And my sisters, look at me now. It means they are older than me, 4 of them. We are 7 in the family. And the way they worked hard through their primary, secondary, university, I saw them. They were my role models. And most of them are holding positions, influential positions, decision-making positions. And when this S came in and said, okay, we are working on this proposal, and Ruth, can you be the deputy center lead? I didn't think twice. I was like, yeah, I can lead. I've seen my sisters do that, and they balance work, family, and all that. So you find that even if we say ladies in here, those of you who have been mentored by women, can you stand up? You find that it's almost everyone. And then we can go on the other side, men. Who mentored you? Were they men or women? You find most of the men will stand up. So at the end of the day, let's look beyond gender mainstreaming. Let's go beyond numbers and all that. Let's embrace transformation and take those positive discrimination ideas, the deliberate, intentional moves, and we can make the change. We are the ones to coordinate this back in our universities so that there's change on the ground. And to my colleague here, yes, we are in leadership position. We can deliberately say, okay, in this interview, maybe let's take this one because she's a woman, let's go for this one. But for the secondary school children, we are saying, let's engage and collaborate with those lower level or junior level education and bring out this mentorship, these role models. Let's provide that spotlight at those secondary schools, universities. Let's support that. Let this be part of our program so that we reach out to the potential candidates in STEM. Once we expose both our boys and girls at that younger age, they'll make these decisions. They'll be able to see what is up there in the industry, what's the process, and if this one is doing it, I can also do it. And finally, in those boot camps, we ensure that both men and women are taking part of that. Why? I'll give an example from the empowerment part of it. If we are today going to experiment and empower only girls, we start with them at the age of 10 years, take them through their adolescence to early adults or to around 20s. These girls will be empowered. But then we are humans. They will engage with the men. They want to get married. They'll get married to a man who did not go through this process, who is not empowered. What will happen at that end? Chaos. So we take on board men, we take on board women, so that there's that balance at the end of it. Everyone is exposed. We don't say, okay, this is all women, this is all. You find that there's a combination, unless they are so specific oriented to say, okay, this is to do with I don't know, men-related issues, women, disease-related issues, so we want only men, we want only women, but most of it you find that we combine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ruth. Dr. Fauzia.
So I would like to advise the young females. And then, like he said, gender mainstreaming should actually be put aside. Everyone should be on board. For global challenges like climate change, food security, and equitable distribution of resources, we need diverse voices for men and women to achieve sustainable solutions. So we need everyone on board. It shouldn't be just women and it shouldn't be just men. And for young females, seek mentorship. And for those in position to mentor, please do not exploit us. And ask questions, knowing that your story will inspire others too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, let me just say a big thank you to our panel of esteemed STEM leaders and practitioners, and also to our extremely dynamic audience for a really wonderful discussion. We're going to continue to see what ACES can do to support women in STEM. Thank you.
I think we need to give them another round of applause. And another one. Because it was an extremely inspiring panel, we give a third one. We really thank you so much. You can take your seats.